Recording. Wonderful. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody to April's coaching clinic. And today we are looking at becoming disappointment proof. So I thought this topic would be important and certainly enticing if you are someone who just notices that you get kind of knocked off course with your dream, your ideas, because of discouragement, because of disappointment. And sometimes we don't always know that that's happening, but we can usually gauge when we've somewhat given up hope or we have somewhat taken ourselves out of the game, as it were, because we've had a setback or a knockback. And I just think that this is an important subject, because if you're going to be running your own business, if you're going to be self-employed, working for yourself, like the main thing is that you live in a level of possibility, potential, and hopefulness. I've often said to those that I'm working with that are wanting to transition from their day jobs, I've often said to them, the main difference between being in a day job 9 to 5 and working for yourself is that in a day job, your state of mind doesn't matter. You're going to get paid anyway. You can clock in and you can clock out, and it doesn't really matter how you feel. When you're working for yourself, there is a level of potential, possibility, creativity, and hopefulness that has got to be your modus operandi for the most part, in order for your paycheck to come in. Now, the good news is, I think we'd all rather be working on that versus working on having to get on a tube or a metro at 6 o'clock in the morning and having to travel for an hour to go to a job that we don't love, and then to clock in and spend a whole day not living in our values and feel exhausted by the end of the day and come home and start the cycle all over again the next day. So, there's something beneficial to really letting your quote unquote hard work be taking care of your mind. Taking care of your mind. Because that's all this is. As we take care of our mind first, everything falls into place. And I'd much rather be taking care of my mind as my work versus, as I said, the hard work of showing up to a place I don't even want to be 12 hours a day. So part of taking care of our mind, friends, allows for a gentler experience of disappointment or discouragement. And that's what today's topic is all about. So to start us off, as usual, I love to invite us into a gentle grounding exercise that will support you in hearing more deeply what's being shared, and will support you in just really coming into the session fresh. So regardless what you've been up to until this point, let's join together for this gentle meditation as we navigate our way towards this discouragement-proof experience that allows us to keep moving in the direction of our dreams. So close your eyes, placing your feet on the ground, and just allow yourself to become present to the session. If you have anything switched on that needs switched off, do that now. And just double check that you've muted your line. And take a breath, a nice deep breath to ground yourself here and now. In through the nose and out. Let your breathing begin to settle. So often we're holding our breath when we're tense and we don't realize it. So just allow your breathing to just become deeper in this moment. If you like, you can use the count of 4. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, and out. 2, 3, 4, hold. And you can keep that rhythm going for a minute or two till you feel yourself really settled. Just notice if you're holding any tension. Just let that drop. And just allow yourself to receive this space, a space of peace, a space of grace, a space of awakening, a space where our level of consciousness can rise up and our state of mind can shift towards possibility, creativity, and potential. Now, in your mind's eye, just see roots coming from your feet down through the ground, down into the underground, and right down to that rock at the bottom of the earth. See those roots wrapping around that rock. Continue to breathe gently, allowing yourself to be fully present. And imagine golden light emanating from this rock and moving up through the rock, through the roots, through the underground, through the ground, up through the floorboards and into the soles of your feet. This light is energizing and clearing. And we're going to send this light now up through our body. And before doing so, we can set intention mentally for what we'd love this light to do for us. And we can set intention mentally that this light would clear the way of all disappointment and any discouragement, and would instead recenter us towards the possibility of fulfilling long-held dreams and vision. See the light moving now through the soles of your feet, into the ankles, and through the shins and the back of the calves, into the kneecaps, front and back, through your thighs, the front and the back, into the buttocks and into the spine, up through the front of the body. See the light moving through the hips, through the torso, through the rib cage, through the chest, up to the throat. Simultaneously moving up through the back of the spine to the top of the head. And from the throat up through the neck, through the face, to the top of the head, where the light meets each other, back and front. And see the light moving now down the left side of the head, the left shoulder, down through the left arm, lower arm, hand, and out through the left fingers. And see the light moving down through the right side of the head, down through the shoulder, the right arm, lower arm, hands and fingers, until your whole body is enveloped in this beautiful elixir of healing and clearing light. Bask in the presence of that light. Receive it. And send that light now to any dream, any desire, any vision that needs some support, anything you've been feeling disappointed by or discouraged around. Just send the light there. Let the light work its magic. And see the light beam back at you. Your vision, your dream, your desire, pulsating with light, and this light beaming back to you. You're totally connected with this idea that you've had or this desire that you yearn for. And through this light, you are one. And let the light circle your head now, specifically lightening up your mind. See the light circling your mind, infiltrating it, allowing your state of mind to rise, lightening up any thoughts that have felt heavy or discouraged. Set your intention here. Ask your own guides, spiritual network, anyone, anything that you believe in to support you in moving forward, in having the thoughts that would support this direction, this dream, this goal. So often we forget to call on help when we're trying to achieve something and we end up efforting all alone. That's not really required, actually. Instead, we can just ask for to be guided by Spirit, that this process of creation, whatever it is you're wanting to create, whether it's short term or long term, that you would be spiritually supported in doing so. Sitting in the light and feeling lighter, and letting yourself fully receive the support, the guidance, the lightening up. And then gently coming back to seeing those roots coming from your feet down through the ground, down into the underground, and right down to that rock at the bottom of the earth. Wrap those roots around that rock. This rock steadies us and nurtures us. And we can begin to move our fingers gently, our toes gently. And when you feel ready, just open your eyes and come back into the session fully. So, as I started to share at the beginning, our best work is to take care of our state of mind first. What discouragement and disappointment tells us is that we've dropped. We've dropped out of a lovely feeling. We've dropped down to a level of consciousness that is flavored with more negativity than we would like. But that's all it's telling us. That's all discouragement and disappointment is telling us. It is not telling us that our dream or our desire is never going to come to pass. It is not telling us that we're wrong. It is not telling us that no one wants what we have to offer. It is just indicating that we've dropped. We've dropped in state of mind. We've dropped in consciousness. So the less we make discouragement and disappointment personal, the more it can just flow as yet another flavor of thought passing through. Nothing more, nothing less. If you switched it to Chinese, you wouldn't know what it was saying. Just a flavor of thought, like a flavor of ice cream. Some we like and some we don't. And how innocently, when we don't know that we live in these feelings of disappointment and then give them more meaning than they deserve. You know, let them rule the roost and decide not to action anything anymore. I was having a conversation with a client who came to me for kind of a one-off situation where she just wanted to address a business offer she had that wasn't getting the results she expected it to get. And it was just so interesting how she woke up to her habit of becoming disappointed because things hadn't worked out on the timeline she had made up. And when I asked her what the deadline was, another made up idea that we give ourselves, the deadline was still another 2 weeks away. And yet she had innocently forecasted that the offer was landing on deaf ears and obviously not worth anything because no one had signed up immediately. And so she was living in this feeling of disappointment. And as a result of that, she just wasn't taking any further action. In fact, she told me one of the actions she took was initially was before we had our session was to find out from her audience where she'd got it wrong. You know, what wasn't working about this? How innocent. And yet, as she began to wake up to living in a habit of not having her expectations met and then becoming disappointed and then not taking any further action, she saw that she wasn't just doing that in her business life, she was doing that romantically. She was doing that with her diet. She was doing that in other areas because innocently it was just living in that feeling of disappointment, discouragement, and assuming that the potential was finished, the possibility was over. Now, we're all sometimes doing that in some area. where we're not catching a habit of thought, and then we're kind of lost in this state of mind that leaves us not taking any further action. What's the key? The key is to begin to see that in taking care of your mind first, you are less likely to have drops in consciousness that leave you in feelings of discouragement and disappointment. In taking care of your mind first, you are more likely to hear the guidance and the wisdom within you on what action steps to take, on what to offer your audience if that's the world you're in. And it is still an area, this taking care of your mind, it's still an area that I see so many people leaving out of their daily routine, leaving out of their business, leaving out of their planning, because it's still not valued. What do you mean, take care of my mind first, Grace, and then everything falls into place? Surely I need to action X, Y, and Z, and then if I have time, I'll get around to my mind. Surely I need to do 100 other things that require effort and management, and then maybe we'll have some time to think about our state of mind. I know it's counterintuitive, but it really works the other way, inside out. You take care of your mind, you rise up in consciousness, you have greater vision and clarity, you live in a nicer feeling, where discouragement and disappointment become irregular friends. But when they do show up, you're not seduced by them. You're not taken off course for weeks or months or years with your dream. Instead, you're just noticing that you're back in a habit of thought. Doesn't mean anything about your potential, doesn't mean anything about your dream or your ability. We underestimate how much speedy thinking and chronic stress we live in. We as humans have habituated to a level of busyness inside and out that gets applause from the world, but does not make for a nice life and does not make for effortless creation in our business or our world. So discouragement and disappointment become optional. We can go there or not. And when we find ourselves going there, it's an invite to quieten back down inside. It's an invite to see that maybe we meet some expectations We can use our thinking any way we want. And one of the ways we can use thought is to come up with expectations. Maybe we came up with expectations that either A, are not aligned with our true values. So here we are trying to create something that has nothing to do with our true values and what we truly love. And then we wonder why it's never working out. Or B, we've come up with an expectation, because we can use our thinking to do so, that's completely unrealistic. In the case of that lovely client, she still had 2 weeks to go before the closure of that offer. And after the first day, because it was not landing in the expected way that she needed it to land for people, she was then living in her feeling of disappointment and not going to take any more action. So we want to be wary of these habits of thought, of expectation, of disappointment, of discouragement. And we want to just see that, as we take care of our mind first, we are less likely to drop into those habits of thought. We are more likely to hear guidance, follow guidance, have wisdom, follow wisdom, and experience results. Another client of mine gave a very good example as I listened to her message on WhatsApp this morning. And, she had an expectation that a particular piece of property would sell in a particular time frame. And because it hadn't sold in a particular time frame, she was getting really discouraged. Things were looking hopeless. She was ready to pull the plug in a couple of situations. And then I got this message from her this morning where she said, Grace, gosh, a miracle's occurred. She said, I just found out if that property had sold within the time frame I had expected it to, I would have been charged 40% on tax instead of 20%. So now when the building eventually sells, I'll only be charged 20%. And she said she didn't even know that she was going to be charged 40. The way that the law was set out for her in the US was that it was going to be 40% of it sold within 12 months of her being the owner of the building. So sometimes we use our thinking to create expectations, and we're going full throttle trying to get our expectation met, and we're living in worry if the expectation isn't coming to pass. But that's another made up habit of thought. And then our expectation doesn't get met, so we drop in consciousness into disappointment and discouragement, when all the while life is saying, hold on a minute, I know what's best here. And we're not going to have that expectation met within your time frame, because there's a drawback to that. But stay on the horse, keep going. Because if you'll wait well, you'll see your results come to pass with far greater advantages. So there is a level of allowing for divine timing with our dreams, with our desires, versus using our thinking to make up deadlines, expectations, and drop into disappointment and discouragement. What are you hearing there today? Is there anything sticking out for you? Is there something that you would love some support around? Is there anything else I can share on this topic that would speak to you? I'd love to make this relevant. And you can just come on because I can't really see you all. So just come on if you'd like to speak.
I'll come on, if that's okay.
Hello, who have I got here?
Sarah. Hi, Grace.
Sarah, hello, lovely to see you.
You too. I have a question about, I feel like I've kind of got this, what you're talking about, but last week I have this long-standing problem with it's a family thing with renal arteries. We have high blood pressure I've had it since my 30s. And I was sitting with my GP last week after having a 24-hour blood pressure monitor, and she said, "What exactly were you doing between 2 a.m. and 3:45 a.m.?" And I laughed and I said, "I was asleep." She said, "Some part of your body was not asleep," and my blood pressure was kind of sky high. And I said, yeah, I do a lot of thinking overnight. Sometimes I wake up and I feel like I've run a marathon in my brain. And for content, I was diagnosed with ADHD at 56, 4 years ago. So I would just love your input around what happens when you're asleep. I feel like I've calmed so much down over the last few years, and I just and things are good. Um, and I'm coming to your retreat in Spain, so I'm really looking forward to that. And I just any advice for the nighttime stuff, or for when you feel like it's kind of out of your control, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a really great question for everyone, Sarah. And there's a couple of things come to mind. The first one is if I had something attached to my arm, I and I have some awareness that I'm going to be checked on that the next day, there's going to be a level of thinking that I'm in. There's no doubt about it. So I'm not always a fan of what comes forward in those results. It's like my brother was recently going to get checked for something, and he was just so worried about it that, of course, when he got the results, it showed like it was the level of worry thinking he was in. It was so obvious. Like the stress result was obvious, because of the thought. And like thought creates feeling each time. So I suppose my first sort of inkling is I I kind of would almost expect you to be a little um higher on that spectrum the next day, knowing that you're kind of like going to be monitored for 24 hours. But what's the solution here? Well, it's a beautiful invite, Sarah, to see that there's another level of quiet available for you inside. And it really does impact our health. It impacts our level of stress. It impacts everything physiologically. There's so much research within the Three Principles community of how this understanding and actually basking in that beautiful feeling has physiological results. And I just remember my very first insight. My very first insight came in a very quiet mind as a result of whatever we were exploring. And I don't know what the words were that were being shared, but I know that my mind came to a level of quiet that I had never experienced before. And in that experience, all the tension in my body just released. I dropped out of a level of self-consciousness I was living in. I dropped out of a level of tension I was living in. I remember like my stomach muscles relaxing. I remember my shoulders falling. I remember my neck loosening. I used to have chronic neck pain. I haven't had that for a decade. Taking care of my mind first. And so you've already come on a long way if you're seeing that you're quieter than you were a number of years ago. And as Sydney Banks said, there's always another level of consciousness. There's infinite levels. And there's infinite levels of quiet mind. Um, so it's not that we don't, it's out of control and it's not something we can control. It's just an invitation to deepen into that other level of quiet. And one of the things I noticed too, Sarah, is, and I didn't really respect this until the last year or two, is that it's not just about the level of busy mindedness. Our dream state is informing us of just how busy minded we are, you see. But it's not just the state of busyness inside, it's also looking at the busyness outside. Many of us are overextending ourselves. Many of us are juggling numerous different things on the outside. And I've come to respect in the last 2 years, definitely for more, that this work that we're doing in the world, um, a level of quiet is required. And that also means a level of busyness externally needs to be kept in check. And I think sometimes because we are kind of habituate to doing it all, and because we've done it like that, and but we want to get suspicious. We want to get suspicious of, like, over busying ourselves externally and internally. I don't know if that speaks to you at all, Sarah, but that's what's coming through.
Yeah, I think it's like probably things that I'm um, not dealing with in my waking hours that are probably popping up into my mind. It was probably my 10th or 11th monitor that I've had over the years, and I actually felt like I had a really good sleep with it. It doesn't bother me anymore, but and I don't have any health anxiety like that, but I definitely think it's the things that maybe I'm not processing or not. My mum died quite suddenly about 5 months ago, and I think like it's that layer of like grieving. Like sometimes I just wake up upset, and I'm just like, oh, what's going on here? And I think it's like, um, I think it's just like probably that next layer of that. So
Yeah.
didn't know that was there. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you. It's just like more, yeah, Sydney's the wise man, like more work to be done. Next level of quietness. Yeah.
Yeah. And a grief is like the most exhausting thing I've experienced. I just, I, I couldn't get over how tired I was because you're metabolizing something that deserves respect. And a lot of people just keep going, keep going, keep going because they don't want to be in the feeling of exhaustion only to burn out later, or they want to be in the feeling of grief only to discover that it shows up later in a different way. So, I really invite you just to respect the season you're in. Let's not be in any form of worry about this test you did with the doctor. This is all making complete sense. And allow yourself to um, take care of you and your mind first. And let your schedule be gentle, Sarah. Let your schedule be gentle, whether you have to let people know or let clients know, or, ease up a bit, you see. So yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And if you want to connect personally on this process of grief, get in touch.
Thanks so much. Yeah. And I think it's the nature of my work as a business coach is like so many people are really struggling right now, and like giving kind of extra when I don't probably have it in the tank as
Yeah.
much as I normally would. Yeah. Like I have created a very spacious business. It's amazing. I have very little on my calendar a lot of the time, which is amazing. But yeah, I really hear you there. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So that's good feedback too. Is like, okay, it might not be, you've mastered a bit of the external piece. So like really, let yourself become quiet on the inside, taking care of your mind first. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, let's go to Joe. You've got your hand up. I can see you. Go ahead, darling.
Hi, yeah. Um, yeah, I just wanted to um, I don't know, get your opinion really, I suppose. So I left my job um, after I had an operation in January, and the operation went wrong, and I had to leave my job, which was fine because I wanted to leave anyway. Um, and then a couple of weeks ago, I had an insight to like get another job, which is obviously obvious. um, and I'm just noticing myself jumping on it and making it something that I have to make happen. And I really want to use it as an opportunity to practice kind of like allowing and creating rather than doing. Um, so I'm just kind of like listening to what you're saying and working out like again, I'm working it out like do I go on like websites and look at jobs, or do I don't know, just like I have been the last couple of weeks, just as much as possible, like just focusing on like feeling good and resting and being in a good feeling. But then when I'm doing that, I'm like, no, I should be looking for jobs. So I'm just kind of trying to like, yeah, I just wondered what your input was on like that kind of balance.
Yeah. Well, that's the word right there, Joe. It's finding the balance. If you're going to have a lot of noise because you're not looking for a job, then any resting is going to be kind of pointless because your mind is going to be noisy. So it's finding that balance. And I'm a great believer in God will pay you double for your trouble. So here you are without your job. You didn't really want to be there anyway. Good news is that, there's something else for you. There's something else available. And I mean, are you physically fit to work yet?
Pretty much, like it's early days, but pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And do you have a direction that you would love to be of service in? Is there something that lights you up more than something else?
No, that's the other problem. Like I don't know what jobs to look for because there are jobs out there, but I don't really want to stay in the same industry. Like I'd rather do something different. But I don't know, like I don't know if I have this idea in my head that because I had an insight, there is like one specific job that I just have to wait for nudges and I'll get led to that like specific job, which is going to be perfect. But I don't know if that's a misunderstanding.
What would have you doubt that?
Sounds too good to be true.
So you said you had this insight. This came to you?
Yeah.
Okay. And what state of mind were you in when that came to you? Do you recall?
Yeah, I was listening to a meditation, so like I was pretty relaxed. There wasn't like an urgency to it. It was like, oh my God, what an amazing idea.
So repeat the idea.
Just to get a job. It wasn't like it wasn't that specific. It was just I could get a job.
Okay. But what I heard was your insight was somewhat extended in terms of, did I hear you say that a job could show up for you, that a job could come to you?
Yeah, the insight was that I could get a job, but my understanding is that because I've had that insight, like there is a job out there that would be perfect, and I just have to allow it.
Okay, well, that sounds like a good idea, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. But I just wanted to clarify it with you because I don't want to just like sit around for months not taking any action because I'm waiting for nudges and the nudges don't come, kind of thing.
Well, you've had the nudge, which is get a job, and then you've had the other clarity, which is maybe it's not just about me looking for a job. Maybe it's about the job finding its way to me as well.
Mm,
Like like now, of course, Bob the drunk guy in our head is like, that's not possible. Like the habit of discouragement is coming in. Like that's too good to be true. That's too easy. But I think you could trust your guidance, Joe, that, there's a level of looking that you could be in,
mm.
a level of receiving from life a job that's more suitable for you, you see. And so often we take life by the hands and go in search of, especially if we get insecure,
Mm.
start like efforting our way through it. And I just want to propose, like, what if your wisdom is correct? What if you could be taking care of yourself and waiting well for an opportunity to present itself? And that might be one day opening the paper and boom, this jumps out at you. Or that might be, oh, Joe, I told somebody about you looking for a job and they want to know if you might be interested to have a talk because they need someone to do this, that, or the other. Like there's this incredible life force that knows your needs. And so it's finding the balance between looking out there for the thing you feel you need right now, and waiting well in stillness to receive the thing that's perfect for you. It's not like one or the other.
Yeah, no, I get, yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, cool.
And again, Joe, you can trust your guidance. You've heard very clearly your guidance. There's something resonating in you with that guidance.
Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of like jumping up and down with excitement internally. Yeah, yeah, that sounds amazing. Thank you.
Why is that? Why are you jumping up and down? What's different for you?
Because I feel like you've confirmed what I suspected, but I didn't trust myself enough to be like, yeah, that's fine. You can just like relax and, take it easy and just follow. Like I can trust myself.
Good. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yep.
That's pretty cool. So thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, anybody else got a question, a comment, something that they might like some feedback on in this month's coaching clinic? And I can't see everybody, so if you just want to come on, it's fine. There's a hand up on iPhone. I can see that. I don't know who that is. You would have to unmute.
Hi, Grace.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm sorry. I had to like pop off. But then I just popped back on thinking, I wonder if I could just ask a question that I have right now. And the moment I got on, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, darling. Yeah,
So I'm sorry, I did miss some of the other questions. So I hope I'm not repeating myself.
that's fine.
Okay. Um, I am a mother. I've been kind of chasing my dreams a little lately for the past year, and things have really changed. Um, Things have blossomed. I've created a lot of the things that I've wanted to create. Um, but I'm sensing that it's kind of like if I were riding a horse, like that horse is just starting to go full speed. Things are coming together and things are aligning. And it's great. But I find now that I'm a mom, I have 2 and a 6-year-old. My mind is not present, because as I'm driving down the road, I'm like, wow, this kids things that I have going on with mindfulness at a Buddhist center with a monk that I'm meditating with weekly now. So amazing. But this weekend I need to come up with a craft for the kids, or my mind's elsewhere. And I'm feeling like I'm leaving my duties or my children to take care of other children because I'm teaching mindfulness to kids. So is there a case where we need to whoa our pony? Like where we need to say passion and inspiration is not presence?
What do you think about that?
I know that when I'm really excited, I'm actually like, I'm not present. I'm thinking about things, and or maybe I know what I need is to be present. But when I'm so excited and so inspired and passionate, it's kind of like I opened up a valve in me, and I just want to spray paint all my walls like eggplant purple, And even my outfits have been changing. You would love it. And so I have so much creativity coming out, and I have opportunities. I've just really learned to do, to show up on a Zoom call, which I couldn't have asked a question before. I can make videos and post them online. I've come far in I feel like a small amount of time. I have so much I feel to offer, and I feel for the first time I want my voice to be heard, but I feel like I'm leaving my family behind. And that's not my priority. My priority is to be present with my children.
Well, do you find you're present with them like some of the time when you're there?
No, not lately. I'm like, things have been going. And so it's like, I am working on that, trying to give them presence.
Yeah, and I think that's where the conflict is. It's like you're trying to curb the season you're in, and the season you're in is full of excitement and enjoyment and creativity. What if you could, can you hear me? Oh, I don't know if she's frozen. What if is everybody else hearing me? Yeah. What if you could hold excitement, creativity, and inspiration and still be present? I mean, there has to be a level of presence to even experience those feelings. Presence is the most normal thing we do. If I say to you, oh my God, I can see behind you, your house is on fire. You're going to like stop and be present to your house being on fire. It's like that. It's a switch. It's a switch. But as I hear it, I hear you're in this inspiration and creativity, and you think you should be in presence, or you think you're not present. And yet we have to be present to even experience inspiration, to even experience creativity. And so I just hear a conflict. I'm this, but I should be doing this. I'm here, but I should be there. And that is the only place you're going to get the feeling of tiredness coming in, is because you're in conflict. If it was me, I would enjoy the experience of being in a season of inspiration and creativity and purpose. And I would not be using my thinking to judge myself about not being present at home. I would be suspicious of thinking that is telling me I'm leaving my family behind. Because that's just this idea that you can have one but not the other. That's not true. That's not true. So see, we're using our thinking against ourselves. Here we are in creativity, inspiration, enjoyment. And we're not allowed to be there, says the ego, because it comes at a price. Yeah, you're going to leave the family. You're going to lose your family. You're not going to be present. Just catch that. We want to be suspicious of our thinking, friends. It's rarely helpful and it's rarely true. It's also my experience that seasons of high levels of excitement, inspiration, and creativity don't last for years on end. So grab them and take hold of them and enjoy them while they're there. Leverage them while they're there. And you might be surprised to find that your children's experience of you is just as good as it always was. You're just having a bit of thinking about presence.
Yeah, that's right. I think you're right. I think they would say I'm happier.
Well, what a wonderful example. You know, we can bring presence to our children. That's one way to help them, but we can also bring happiness and smiles and other things that are equally important. You see?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Grace. I didn't realize I was actually just being very hard on myself.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
That's Bob the drunk guy getting in the way of you.
I've been telling people about Bob the drunk guy. Such a good metaphor.
Yeah, he's definitely drunk in there. So don't listen to him. Just go enjoy your creativity and your purpose.
Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
glad I caught you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you to everybody for today. It's just been so lovely to be here. And, you know, if there's something speaking to you and you'd like to be in touch, as always, get in touch with me, please, on grace@gracefulcoaching.net. Upcoming possibilities of working together include one-to-one, include a one-off session for planning and masterminding. And next month, I will open our mastermind for coaches. So if you're a coach and you'd like to be in a container with other coaches where you can really take your business to the next level, that one is for you. But I can send you all details of anything that is of interest to you when you email me directly. All right, everybody. So I'll see you next month for the May coaching clinic, and I'll see some of you next month in Spain. Okay, for our retreat. Bye, everybody. Thank you.